Welcome back, everyone. BGR episode 11. I am Warawana, and my co-host today is Faunatron. How you going, mate?
Doing all right. How the hell are you?
I'm going swimmingly, mate. I have been crushing.
Laura sent me a picture of some Halloween decorations because it is Halloween the day that we're recording this, and I was so envious because it's so gorgeous over there, and it's cold as shit over here in the Pacific Northwest. And I was like, man, you were so lucky that you could just like go out and dress up for Halloween. You don't have to wear like a big puffy jacket with your costume like we do over here.
That's it. Yeah, like I originally put on a stormtrooper outfit, and I'm just like, nah, I'm not feeling it. It's going to be too hot wearing this. Whereas you guys over there, were like, I'm wearing a stormtrooper.
Too much.
Yeah. And it was great. Like the setup was just over the top for Australia. Like it's probably just like a mid tier for America, but over here it's like amazing. People were frothing it and putting on Instagram and stuff. But yeah, so you would have noticed as well my photo I sent you yesterday of me picking up Veilguard. I had thongs on. You commented on me having...
I was like, how did you get it early? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's a day ahead over there, so you're actually getting it on time.
That's it, yeah. So everyone watch out for that Dragon Age Veilguard
Was the case just empty with a code, or was there a disc inside?
No, there's actually a disc inside. But
nice.
Here's actually, now that you mention it, here's something that's really annoying. On the PS5, you click check for update, and the game said this is up to date. So I open the game, and then it starts updating. That's not normal. Yeah. But anyway,
it was not quite yet, brother.
So it's like the only thing in it is you get a 20% off code for their store. So I think
sick.
Anyway. So yeah, moving on from that, we've got another review on the channel. 2 actually. We've got Silent Hill 2 review, and we've got my Echoes of Wisdom. So if you guys haven't checked that out after the podcast. But
it's been a crazy week, yeah. So by the time this comes out, those 2 reviews should already be out. So definitely go check them out.
Yeah. And then we're also going to put out some impressions, hopefully a couple of days after this review goes live, of the Monster Hunter Wilds beta test. I feel like that's a lot of more of the same of Monster Hunter Worlds. So yeah.
We got a lot of content coming out, and then also it was Max's first video review, so be kind to him. Go check out as well with Wara's Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom review. Go check out Max's Silent Hill 2 remake review. We released it today, which is Halloween, for this extra spooky factor. But yeah, Max and Wara especially have been crushing it with the video reviews, and I'm working away on some content. Don't worry, I'm not slacking. But we got a lot of stuff. It's been like I was just saying, it's been a crazy week. Like we're gonna go into it in a second here, but like Asmongold's back.
I wanted you to say that. You're all over him sometimes with this content. I was like, I'll say something, and you're like, oh yeah, I watched that yesterday. I'm like, oh my god, I can't keep up.
I'm watching it live.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, like it's been nuts. So yeah, a lot of stuff to talk about.
Definitely, yeah. So let's get straight into our first topic. I know you're just begging to just crush this one.
I'm drooling.
Concord shutting down. Now, the studio itself is gone, and my prediction of Concord 2.0 releasing shortly is dead in the water. The studio is gone. So I'll let you take this one away, Jimmy. I know you got a lot to say about it. I want to hear.
Okay. So Concord getting like perma shut down. I'm not surprised. I know there was those like on the Steam DB, you could see that there were some like updates happening in the background, and in I think was it Sony's official statement or Firewalk? I think it was Sony's official statement where they're like, we would constantly like look over our catalog and blah 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 blah. I think they did try some stuff, and they were seeing how it worked. They'd be like, okay, what would it look like it was free to play? And then like, what kind of stuff could you do? And I think they were doing some like internal testing in the background, and that's what those updates were. And then I think like Sony like looked at all of them and was just like, I there's no saving this. I think we just pull the plug. And I think that's the decision that they ultimately came to. And yeah, not surprising. And I think this is a fair warning to all studios out there. If you do not harbor an open space for communication and constructive criticism, if your whole staff feels like they have to walk on eggshells because of a few certain individuals and their vision, their ideals, then get ready to have your studio close, because this is what happens. I think if more people, and I know right now is a terrible time with just like how finicky the games industry is, and same with like the whole tech industry and like a lot of industries. I definitely feel like a lot of people are hesitant to speak up because they don't want to lose their job. They just want to like work and then not have to worry about an income. And I think a result of that is that we just get these terrible games and terrible decisions being made. And then what's funny is like those delusional people come out the other side and they're like, we have no idea why it wasn't successful. It's like, bro, Concord wasn't successful because you released the ugliest batch of characters that were so flagrantly flamboyant, like it was like insulting to like the type of person that would play that type of game. It was just
jarring.
like, yeah, it was like, we're gonna
yeah.
shove this so hard in your face, and it's just like, what did you expect? Like, people are gonna revolt. It's just like, there is, yes, the gaming demographic is varied and wide, but the majority, the huge median of people, you can probably guess what type of individual they are and the types of things that they probably will like. And let me just say, everything that was in Concord was not it. Was it a functional and fluent game? Yes. But if you can't connect with the players, if you can't connect with the characters and the setting or atmosphere in the game, you're not going to want to engage with the gameplay, even if it is functional. And it's just like, sometimes there is that balance where like a game can be like so incredibly addicting and just the gameplay loop is just so good you just don't care. I don't think it was it for Concord, just from an outsider's point of view. I feel like the gameplay was suitable. It was just like it was functional and it did what it was supposed to do, but it wasn't like stellar or like anything like amazingly groundbreaking.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and like I said, actually pre-release after the open beta, I said to Henry Heck, who was our guest a few weeks ago, what I said to him was, a lot of people like myself can play any character and I don't care what they look like. But the issue is you got to get people in the door. So you first look at characters and go, I want to play that character, and then after you're involved and invested in the game, then you just pick a character that you like the feel of. And you stop caring as much about the characters. But it's about judging a book by its cover. A lot of people do that. There's just too many games to just play a game that just the book cover, the everything you see at face value. If that doesn't draw you in, you're done. You're done. See you later. And that's
your
just
studio gets closed.
Closed, yeah. And we're not talking on hearsay now. It is factually closed.
Yeah.
It is done. See you later. By end of discussion. And I'm just a little bit upset that we couldn't have like that return just to prove that it was the character models. But who cares? I'll move on from that.
Anyone who doesn't believe it's that, you're coping. It's just like it was 100% the design of the game. This is all speculation incoming. This is what I feel like happened. I feel like Jim Ryan wasn't pleased with the progression of the in-house studios with their multiplayer online games, and with factions kind of getting like shit canned, or like it probably wasn't going well by that point in time before they bought Firewalk, and then also the Horizon game being quite a bit far out. I feel like they wanted something, like they wanted something, so they were looking for a studio that had a product that was already almost done, and then that's where Firewalk comes in. So Jim Ryan and all the Sony dudes take a tour of their studio, and they were sold on this idea, and the idea was Overwatch, but with like a twist, and the twist is like the definite design of the characters or whatever, and they were all for it because they're executives, they're not gamers. They were just like, oh, that sounds great, like we'll appeal to this new audience and blah 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 blah, and this could be our new flagship product. And then they were hook, line, sinker, dude. Like they were just they were sold a dream that was never gonna come true. So Sony put down the big bucks. They opened up the checkbook, $200 million to acquire that studio. And that's before whatever they already spent to get the game into like the MVP, minimal viable product. And then they realized it needed a lot more work, and they dumped a ton more money on top of it. It is like, sure, we don't know the actual figure. Nothing has been officially stated by Sony, nor will it ever, but we can assume it's definitely above 200 million. It could probably be 400 million. That number is not so much of a far-fetched joke anymore. But they spent all of that money, and it's because no one stopped to tell them, look, these characters are ugly. These characters look ridiculous. Nobody's going to align with this. The people that you're after are not the types of people that buy this type of game. And this game is not good enough to switch people from playing Fortnite, from playing Overwatch. It's just not there yet. And because nobody was there to say that to them, this is what you get. You get the biggest financial failure in all of entertainment. They have taken that title. This is the biggest as of right now, as of October 2024, fact. This is the biggest failure in entertainment, not just gaming, but entertainment, period. And it's
and no amount of Astrobot sales will counter that factual statement.
No.
Because we're like, Astrobot came out and made it not an issue. It's like, they're two separate things.
Yeah, no.
This here is Sony setting records in the worst way. 100%.
No, like, would Astrobot like have helped like Sony's bottom line in a tough year? It's like, absolutely, if there wasn't such a failure that was Concord. But it just goes to show you, it's just like how out of touch all of these executives are. They just like, they got a peek at that Fortnite money, and then they were just like, oh yeah, we got to do that. And I think that's Jim Ryan's legacy, is like, he just went in and completely shifted Sony's game plan when their bread and butter has always been third person story hallway games. And it's just like 1000%. Just like, you should have just did that. And it's just like, where's Returnal 2? Where's like the next God of War game? Where's the next whatever? It's just like, that's it. You have so many studios that are just like having to shift out of their wheelhouse and be forced to make live service games when they could just be doing what they do best. It's just like, we said this last week, like take from the Yakuza team. And it's just like, you should be releasing one of these single player games like once a year. And it's just like, what did we have from SIE in 2024? So actual in-house Sony studios, what did they release in 2024? Astrobot, and then
Is that
it?
Yeah, no, I think that's it, to be perfectly honest.
So that's a tough fucking year. So that's why Last of Us Part 2 Remastered gets pumped out. That's why Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster gets pumped out. They're just shilling out the shit because they need to generate some revenue. This isn't just like, oh, we wanted to like reimagine the game experience for new people to... No. This is a quick cash grab to generate some revenue, to fucking take like less of an L that they took with, again, the biggest financial dump in all of entertainment history. Like,
that's it.
Like, it's just rough. And it's just like, you know what's funny too is with Concord, when I'm watching the CGI cinematic intro, I'm gonna say it, like, I definitely feel like that main green lizard dude was a white dude, and then they were like, nope, we can't have that. And then so they changed it because it just looks a little off. It just looks like that they were like, that's either too close to what's that stupid game, Guardians of the Galaxy, and they didn't want to
copy
like
my work but make it slightly different.
And then they were like, no, we want to go away from the norm, and we want it to be just this band of characters. And it's just like, you can have those characters, but you can't have it to where it looks like a checklist. And that's how it felt. It didn't feel genuine. It felt forced, and that's why no one bought your game. And
100%.
And for me, all of those people who got let go, that sucks. What I would say to you is, I hope you eat some humble pie before you go on the job search again. And I would definitely say to everyone in the games industry, if you see the thing that you're working on and you know for a fact that it's gonna flop, or like people are gonna have issues with it, put your hand up and be like, I just want to say people are not gonna like this.
Yeah, yeah,
I want it on record that I'm saying that people are not going to like this. This is why they're not going to like it. You should do this instead.
yeah.
And that's not
And then
being
when
an asshole. That's not being abusive. That's just constructive criticism.
Yeah. And then if shit hits the fan later, they're going to look back and go, who put their hand up? Oh, that guy. Make him a fucking manager now. Tell us. Lead us in the right direction, please.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, well, there's more hope of that. Or you can just abandon ship because you can see shit's going to hit the fan yourself. So you get that resume updated and you Audi 500.
And I feel like Sony shutting down Firewalk and then their other little mobile studio, I feel like they have to do that in order to like write off the loss against their next year's tax return, so they can at least get some of that towards their taxes. But that's why I feel like they have to just like shut it down. But apparently they are shuffling some people around, but like I wouldn't surprise if it's like very minimal.
Yeah, and it's obviously this is information we're likely not going to really hear much of.
No,
with
never.
Factual information. Yeah. So this whole thing this year with this studio has been that these devs were devs who left Destiny 2, right? Who left Bungie, and a lot of hype behind the game before the reveal was that, oh, this is going to be an amazing shooter because of Destiny. Now, I want to talk about the ship of Theseus, and the theory of that is if you change every single plank in the ship of Theseus, is it still the same ship or is it a new ship, right? Now, let's not go into that sort of philosophy, but at the same time, just because 6% of a team that made that game is now making another game, doesn't mean the game overall is going to be good or bad. And I want to talk about a point. In F1, Formula One racing, there is a comment that says you are only as good as your last race. So my point in bringing this up is that you are only as good as your last game. And these people who just try and hype a project up and go, oh, but they did this, they did that. Like, well, I know what's going to happen with this. If this dev team survived, then we'd move on and people would cope and go, well, these are still the people who made Destiny. And it just flows on and flows on and flows on. My point is, don't forget what they released last and stop looking back 20 years in the past, because so much changes in 20 years. Think about how different, you and I were 10 years ago, Jimmy. Let alone
totally.
Where we're going to be in 20 years. We're all going to be completely different people. So what a team did 20 years ago, 10 years ago, even 6 years ago, it doesn't matter as much as what they last did. And especially when teams keep changing and there's so much use of contractors, I don't think there's any point looking back at too many of their previous projects and just assuming it's going to be good, because this is just madness how this turned out. And I do, there's no denying I felt a bit of the Destiny PvP gunplay in this game, 100%. But overall, the game still, as you said, set a record for a financial flop.
Yeah, it's just like, again, you brought up a great point. And what happens to a lot of these things is like somebody who may have been successful on another team, they get promoted to a different role, or like maybe they were really good at level design, or maybe they were really good at first person shooter combat or whatever, and then they get promoted to like lead or like manager or whatever, and maybe they're not so good at managing teams, or maybe they have someone else that they have to answer to, and then they want to keep making that person happy because maybe they want to keep getting promoted, and then you make compromise the compromise. It's like, oh, we're gonna have this person be the director, and it's like, well, this person thinks that we should have a character that looks like an air conditioner, and it's just like, okay, well, that's kind of goofy, but all right, we'll make it work.
We'll see if it pays off, Cotton.
Yeah, you just like, and then you just keep making like compromise, and it's just like, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of these teams just get so bloated, and then this is what you get slop, dude. You just get like average. It's like, sure, it was functional. It's like, should we be really praising a game because it was functional at launch? And it's just like, but meanwhile everything else was just like a dud. It's like, no. And yeah, and it's just like that's why I become big fans of studios or developers. So for me, like, I'm a From Software fanboy, but it's like, can you blame me? It's just like, ever since like Bloodborne, they've just like had hit after hit after hit, and it just like they just keep getting better. Like their last flop, I would say, would probably be Deracine, the VR game. And it's just how many people played that, and it's probably because it was on PSVR and such a limited platform. And then I think in like the 2013s before Dark Souls 2 came out, they had like a couple other random games that they're working on, but after they refined their release schedule to just like a few games per year and made sure those were super laser focused, like From Software, like I'll play anything that they put out. So like Armored Core 6, I was never an Armored Core fan, and it's like I bought that and I loved that game. That game crushes still.
So even if you review each of From Software games on their own, you don't need to cope and pick up the score by going, oh, but there are other games this, and I can see where they've done. They're just all good standalone. If you knew nothing about any of their other games, then they're going to be good games. And that's sort of, it's still, while at the same time you just have so much, and myself as well, just so much confidence in them doing the next game. Obviously, I'm still going to be skeptical of the next game, just as I would with any other studio. But at the same time, I know within myself that they're not going to be releasing a bad product 99% of the time.
For me, like it's just like they've just been so consistent that like I don't care what they release next, I'm pre-ordering it. Like it's just I know it's going to be good, and it's just like, do they have perfect launches? It's like no, but they've been very quick to fix a lot of stuff. But like a great example is Bethesda. It's just like people just keep going on and on about Skyrim and like how good that game was. It's like, dude, that was 10 years ago. That was over 10 years ago. It's just like Fallout 4 was dog shit when it released. Fallout 76 was just a
worse,
like complete shit show. And it's just like Starfield, garbage. It's like brand new DLC, there's still a shit ton of problems with it, and it's just like people just keep going like, oh well, that's the Bethesda charm. It's just like, no, you're brainwashed. It's like, stop giving people the leeway because of one game that released 10 years ago.
Yeah, on the Bethesda charm, it's just like, I heard someone explain it very well the other day and just quantify it, and it's just like the Bethesda charm was meant to be an excuse for accepting that they were pushing the limitations of the current hardware and the game engine at that time. We are way past that. Now it's just like you're not doing anything overly amazing, and it's a joke, and you're regressed. There's no charm here. It's just pathetic. And when they said that, I was like, oh, good. They sort of quantified like where this whole charm, because I say the whole charm thing to you when you were streaming it, Jimmy. Oh, that's just a Bethesda charm, baby. But I was obviously just taking the piss.
Yeah.
But that person really explained where that sort of came from and why, and people have just blown it up to think that like that just means cope in every section of the game. Like, oh no, it's a Bethesda charm. No, it's not. Now it's just annoying. Yeah. Back then they were pushing systems forward and everyone was like, oh, this is a new thing and actually doing something. Whereas in Starfield, it's like, no, this is a joke now. Sort your fucking life out.
Yeah, like this is a next generation game. It's like blah blah blah. Maybe you need to upgrade your PC. It's just like, dude, a lot of the environments look like shit. It's just like the DLC Shattered Space had like a really nice skybox, but like the environments or whatever. And it's funny, like when I play other games, like I'm playing Black Ops 6 right now, and I'm just like, holy shit. I'm like, you can tell that Activision pulls in a lot of money with this game because shit just looks incredible in that game, and I'm just like, damn, like I just thought Call of Duty was Call of Duty or whatever, but like you look at like all of the facial animations of the characters and all the environments, they look insane. Like Bethesda with their broken ass Creation 2 engine, it's just like, just take the L and just like, you need to move on. But I think we've strayed away, but like like Concord, the studio shutting down. This is what happens, okay? So my warning to all of you is, if you're in an environment, did your light just turn off? Yeah.
No, sorry, Sorry.
If you're in a work environment and it doesn't feel like anyone can give any sort of constructive criticism without fear of losing their job, you're not, like, your product or whatever you're working on is not going to be successful, because you need to be able to have open dialogue with people. You need to be able to stand up and be like, I don't think this is a good idea. I think people are going to resent you for doing this. I feel like we're making a bad decision. You can always come to a compromise. Like, could you have made this game a lot better by making the characters a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, but still kind of like keeping to the kind of motif that they want to go for? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
There's tons of YouTube videos out there, people who like Photoshop all of the characters and make them look a little bit better, and it's just You
Wasn't
could
that
have
hard?
you could have done that, and it's just like it was so blatantly obvious that you were alienating the core audience of people who would have played this game. And to be honest, I know it's harsh. Firewalk Studio, you deserve to be shut down because the decisions that you made led you to where you are. And I just hope you have a long sit and think about it, and then come back and then learn from your mistakes, or double down and do it all over again.
Yep, and that comes down to the basis of making a product. You're making a product for an audience, or as a consumer base. And if you make a product for no one, then no one will buy it, and that shouldn't be a shock to anyone. One more thing, sort of on this as a consumer with all this, comment and make a decision on what you see and not what you remember. That's probably the easiest way for me to sort of quantify it. And people did. They didn't like the look of it and they didn't get it. So I guess we'll move on to our next topic if you don't have anything else further, Jimmy.
No, that's it.
That's good. That's good. All right, tier list time. This is a little bit of an exciting one for me and Jimmy. It's a game we've both played, and you can probably see it on the screen now, Jimmy.
I can see, yeah.
God of War 2018 all bosses.
Nice.
So we've got Boulder. Now, Boulder, technically we fight him 3 times. And then the brothers.
3 times, because you fight him in the intro, you fight him at the end. When's the 3rd time?
You fight him again at the top of the mountain when you get the head that just doesn't stop talking.
Oh, okay.
Does that count as a fight though? It's an encounter.
Oh no, yeah. Then you fight him when you like go through the dead world or wherever, and then like.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was thinking of when you get to the tree and you find the head in the tree.
Yeah.
But I think that's just more of like a cutscene. Well, it's hard to remember what a cutscene and differentiate between cutscene and actual fight in these games. But yeah, I thought this would be a little bit of fun. And then there's trolls 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then all the Valkyries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then Sigrun. So let's have a bit of fun with this, Jimmy.
I'm getting so much PTSD right now just thinking about all these garbage bosses.
Yeah, because like the cope from all these Sony fanboys is that the trolls were placeholders, and it's just like, damn, you shipped a product with placeholders in it. Damn, imagine if they actually made them good bosses. Now, where are we going to put Sigrun? All right, so I don't even know. I'll quickly comment on. There's an attack she does that flashes the whole screen.
Yeah,
and it's only defendable if you look the other way.
Yeah, and I was getting a quick look, right? Like when you press on it.
And that there was literally put into the game because it's a corridor simulator and turning around was so awkward. So you push the button to flick it around. And throughout the whole game, I think only one time you really have to use it.
I don't even think I did use it. I'm not even gonna lie.
I don't think I did use it either. But yeah, so I'm gonna say, so everyone says this is like the hardest boss in all gaming, but I think she's just poorly designed, cheap, and so I think I'm gonna put her in at C.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Sure. For me, like all of these bosses, like they're D tier, dude. Like
yeah, I know. Yeah.
All of these bosses, like the only ones that I recall being like somewhat interesting was the Dual Brothers fight. But that one, I just found so much stuff in God of War 2018. It's just like I don't know, like sticky. Like, so like you will be clearly out of range of an attack, but like it needs to hit you. So like it'll still hit you, or like you'll snap to a spot because that's where like the cinematic needs to take place. And there's just like so much bullshit like that in a lot of those boss fights.
Yep, I agree. And so a lot of people just say, why are we so critical of God of War 2018? And it's just like, okay, well, let's spend some time actually pointing out some of the things. These guys here, when you fight the twins, or the brothers, sorry, you have it so they're both attacking you, and like Atreus is like slightly helpful, but I found myself constantly just getting hit from behind when I was halfway through hitting him doing something else, and it was so infuriating. This is definitely an S tier fight for anyone with no brain. But this here, see, he's slightly better because he's got darker hair, and that darker hair makes you a better boss fight. That's just the logic in God of War. I can't change it. It's just the logic. And what about you, Jimmy? What where do you think Boulder won? This is when you fight him at the house.
Um,
So what I hated about this is no matter what you did, it always like had to be put into a certain next section. So it didn't matter how good you did fighting him out the front, you always got hit through to the back. Obviously, because it's all just orchestrated, and it's just like it's effectively a huge cutscene.
it is
And
one
then
huge cutscene. Like, oh, like I don't know. Like, I just feel like with all this, I'm just gonna rate them all D because they're all just shit. Like the first Balder fight, like exactly what you said. It didn't matter how well you performed. So say you hitless, like you just like he didn't get a single hit on you, and you dodged everything. There's still dialogue that's just like, haha, like you're not even that strong, or like as if he did hit you. So like your performance doesn't matter in that fight, and I really really hate that. So
just make the whole thing a cutscene if you're going to do that, because that shit annoys me too. I got so mad because doesn't it happen in Ragnarok as well, where
there's a ton of that in both these games. It's just the way that they're coded. Like, these are just, I don't even know. Like with any of these,
we don't have to finish the tier list. I don't want
to do all of these. Like, if anything, like what I will say is the last Balder fight, I'll give it an A because it did have some good cinematic moments. The first troll fight was an A. Like I thought, that one right there.
Because like when we first got introduced to the troll, we had a bigger enemy, and it was like a proper like boss arena, and he did have some varied attacks, and it was all well and good. But then as you fought the rest, you're just like, hang on a second. This is the same
again?
fight.
You're like, what? Again? How many trolls are there, dude? Like, and then there's double trolls, and then there's one blue, one red, and like you can only do certain things on one of those. It's just like, wow, like that just like that's the insulting part of God of War 2018. It's just like, again, because all of their focus went into the cinematic element of it and like the storytelling aspect, that they like had to rush their ass to just be like, well, we can't just have this whole thing just be like a movie, so we got to like throw in some fights every now and here to keep the player engaged. What do? It's just like we don't have time to like make a whole nother boss. So like, okay, throw in another troll, throw in two trolls, and it's just like, make it a poison troll, make it like a fire and an ice one, or like make it an undead one, and you're just like, oh my god.
Yeah, and if you look at them, they've all got the same rock on their shoulder. They didn't even innovate enough to say, why don't we make one of them not hold a rock and throw small rocks, like pick them up, throw. They didn't do any of that. It's just laziness.
Or have like a big hammer, or like it's like anything.
Exactly. And I just find that that's just the peak of laziness. And we, again, at Base Game Reviews, we comment on what we have in front of us and not what a developer says in an interview 6 months later. I don't care that anyone says that this is a placeholder. What the fucking game released with is a joke. Anyway,
like I feel like here's my take on the game. Like what really drove me to dunk on that game was just like, at the time, had a lot of people because I made like an assumption of the game which was correct, and it was after just like observing footage of it, and I was just like, oh, okay, this is one of those games where I feel like it's just more like a cinematic story piece, and then every now and then you just like you do some button mashing, beat 'em up style, and then there's some QTEs, and they're like, no, that's absolutely not what the game is, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll try it out. And I played it for like 2 hours, and I'm like, yeah, it's absolutely that. And then they're like, you can't even judge a game after 2 hours. And I got so much hate at the time for that. And I was just like, all right, because I'm petty, I will play through the entire game, and I will record the whole thing, and I put it on YouTube. And I was like, and I will count every single time that there's a QTE. And I can't even remember how many there were, but there was definitely a lot. And people told me that there was like different stances in the fighting, there isn't, and that the combat was so in depth. And I showed them like, look, I'm like, when you do like an up R2 does nothing different, or like a back step and then R2, or like, I'm like, it's just these two buttons. I'm like, all you're doing is chaining together different combos and special attacks, and that's literally all. It's just it's a beat 'em up. It's just like an action game, and it's just like, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just people made it more than what it was. And for me, this game had a couple of interesting bosses, but they completely ruin them by repeating them like 9 times and like 6 times. It's just like having 9 Valkyries that are the exact same with like a slight twist in each one completely ruins it. And then people like knock on the Erd Tree avatar in Elden Ring. It's like, dude, bitch, there's 9 of the same boss. And it's just like, like one of them has ads, one of them has poison attacks, one of them is in a stupid arena where like you're constantly like your health is draining. It's just like, it's just stupid shit like that. Like, I don't know.
I agree. Yeah.
And like it's same thing with Ragnarok too. Like they have their own version of Sigrun where it's just like the Skeleton King or whatever, and it's just like 9 of him too, and it's just like
savage.
I don't know. Again, I felt like they had a couple of like okay, decent cinematic bosses, but like they just like they repeat them way too many times. Like if Baldur would have been a way better fight if you could just like kick his ass and then he like did a thing to show that he's immortal, like or like he can't be hurt, and then like the story started, and then like you didn't, and then because by the end fight, like you're like I already did this fight twice. And you're like, there's no, and then they kind of have like a little mid twist in the middle where like he goes into ice form from what I remember, and then like all that. That's all I have to say about these bosses. I'm not going to rank them all.
So I'll just give you a little bit of a there was originally a second tier list, but the second tier list was all his weapons. But you have to put up at least 5 images for the tier list to accept. So he only has 2 weapons and then the shield, so 3 technically. And then that leads into
the first game. What was his other weapon in the first game?
The chaos things and the axe. The chains, like the 2 that you get later. So the other point was like you don't even have freedom to like, okay, I'm going to now that I've got this new weapon, I'm going to attack this troll that I've fought 6 times slightly differently. It's the same every time. And like, you'll change up your abilities that you get, but
there's some abilities that I found that you could spam or like you could do that would like you could like cheese your way through the boss. Like I remember I quickly figured out, I was like, oh, if I just fight hand to hand, I can like easily cause a stagger or whatever where I could do like a finisher move, and I just like did that, and people are like, why aren't you using the axe? I'm like, because look how shit the damage is with the axe. I was just like, where I can just like beat him up a few times and then do a finisher and then just like get through the enemies so much quicker that way. And oh my god, like I'm just getting PTSD of this game. It's just like I'm sure it's so funny because it came out at like 2018. People were like really into like the fidelity that was possible with the PS4, and I feel like this game did deliver on that. And
definitely.
Because there wasn't really a game like it at the time, I feel like that's what gave it like its biggest like oomph. But now, like even when Ragnarok came out, like I feel like that kind of period of gaming kind of came and went, and that's why I don't think Ragnarok was nearly as successful as the 2018 game, and like that's why they should have just made it DLC for the 2018 game. And I think it would have been way more successful. But when you get greedy and you want to make a 10-hour DLC into a 30+ hour padded game, it's just like that's why you get 2-hour fruit picking sessions. I'm just really happy that I never have to play these games ever again. Like that's just how I take it.
Go enjoy the game. That's perfectly fine if that's what you want to do, but definitely not for me.
If you like this game and this is like your favorite game, what I have to say to you is play more games. Like that's fine if this is your favorite game, but like I find with a lot of people who say that this is their favorite game, and I kind of like dig deeper and I'm like, what other games have you played? And you kind of find out that they haven't played a lot of games, or like the games that they have played are like free to play games that they can just get, and then this is like their first paid game or like whatever. Like I don't know, it's just very telling. And then for me, as somebody who used to only play Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 and nothing else, and then now that I've played so many different games, I have come to appreciate a lot of different genres than I would have when I was just a strictly only Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 gamer.
That's it.
So it has opened my palette, and like I have enjoyed a lot more games.
No, that's good. Well, sorry that wasn't as a bigger laugh fest as I'd hoped. But yeah,
It
so
would have
there's a
been
tier
more
list.
funny if it was just like a couple, but like all of them there just pissed me off. Just seeing like all the repeat bosses,
I
like I'm
did,
just like, ugh.
oh well, I had to screenshot all of these, so yeah, it was yeah. But the point was just showing that just how many times it just yeah, exactly. Like they're all the same. One, like you said, one has ads, one's a poison one. Like they didn't even try and like make it so one didn't fly up in the air and do the same land attack. It just yeah, it was all just it felt very lazy to me, and that's the cost of putting all your money into visuals and cutscenes. So I guess we'll move on to
Yeah.
our next topic,
Yeah,
Jimmy.
like the Valkyrie was like a cool, like it was a cool bot. Like if all of
Yeah,
these were
yeah,
just like
yeah,
one timers,
yeah, yeah,
great,
yeah.
excellent. But
Amazing.
the
Yeah,
fact that they repeat so many times, like I remember just like listening to the dialogue like after you defeat one of the Valkyrie, and you're just like, dude, it's just the same shit. And one of them was done so bad, it was like so terrible. I was just like, did they just like grab a receptionist and just like read out these lines as best as you can? Because it was just like it was
yeah,
so haphazardly thrown together, like it was just bad.
yeah. All right, so next segment, and this is just a real quick one. I just want to mention something. So a streamer who everyone has already heard of, we're sure of, is Asmongold. He was previously 2 weeks
The one
ago.
true king, everybody.
Yeah, he has returned, but he was gone for 2 weeks because of his ban on Twitch. Now we're not going to go into why, but the thing is, this Twitch ban made it so that he's notorious for having a dirty house, and it's so dirty. And we could probably put photos up, or you can go look into how bad it was. But the point of this is, I just want to say that life and gaming and hobbies should be about balance, balancing your life. And Asmongold, after he took his 2 weeks hiatus, he cleaned the house. He went outside. He's been exercising every day, and he just says he feels amazing. Asmongold was previously, before the 2 week ban, he was just streaming and gaming and inside, every minute of his life effectively. And he just said he just didn't realize how terrible he felt until he got out of that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And now that he has been exercising, he just says he feels so much better, and he can see how bad he felt before. Now, obviously, I'm paraphrasing his words. It's not word for word what he said, but that's effectively what he said. And so I just wanted to make a comment, like, if you're the type of person who's like, oh, I game 6 hours every day and I'm better gamer than you, or like, oh, as if you only game 3 hours a day, don't listen to those people's comments on that, in my opinion. You game however much makes you feel good. Gaming's a hobby, not some sort of like, what's the word? Like, you're not going to become a gaming god. Like, just do what makes you happy. Enjoy this hobby, and don't worry about what other people are doing. Do what you want to do to be happy and healthy. And it's not about touching grass. It's about just being active and healthy and feeling good. If you think you're gaming a little bit too much, just spend a couple of minutes a day just walking around. You don't have to go crazy and go for a run, nothing like that. Just make sure you feel good. And sometimes you don't realize how bad you feel until you start just like moving around a little bit. And yeah, anything you got to say about that, Jimmy?
Well, yeah, like when I think about it, like there's two terms that a lot of people hate hearing, and that's get good and then also touch grass. But
Yeah,
honestly, when people are telling you to get good, what they mean is play the game more or play the thing more, and then learn from your mistakes. And then from that, you will get better by just having more experience. And then you will get good. And then when people say touch grass, they mean take a break, go out and do something else and maybe get some fresh air or like do something physical, and then come back to the thing a little bit later. And I think, yeah, like more people need to take that advice. And it was actually Asmongold who said this. He's like, nobody cares how good of a player you are at World of Warcraft. Nobody cares how good of a player you are at Call of Duty. Nobody gives like a shit about how good of a player you are at From Software games, because with that group of people, they will always just move the goalpost. So like the person that just like, it's like, oh, I beat Elden Ring in the DLC Deathless. It's like, oh, but did you do it with no rolling? It's like, did you do it with like, and then like, did you do it fist only? Did you do it like with no armor? Did you do it with this or whatever? And you're like, no. And then they're like, well, whatever. And then it gets so ridiculous. Like there's people beating it on a dance pad. There's people beating it with 1 FP and 1 stamina and 1 HP. and you're just
Did you do it blindfolded?
yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, did you do it allegedly blindfolded? Like, it's just super ridiculous. So what I don't like is when people who are more casual gamers speak as if they are someone who does play like games all the time, like the 6 hour day person or the 8 hour day person. It's like, just be okay with the fact that you're a casual gamer. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just like, you can just be like, yeah, I only get so much time to play per week, and when I play, I like to play this, and it's just like, that's just who I am. But when you are a person on either side and you're poo-pooing on the other person because they are only playing so many hours or because they are playing more hours than you, that's, yeah, again, everyone has a different lifestyle. So it's like, for some people, they have the opportunity to play more often, or like they like, I don't know, like there's different circumstances for everybody. But
that's it.
What I will say is, just like, when you're starting to feel that kind of fatigue, or like you kind of feel like everything's shit in the gaming sphere, it's just like, go outside, go do something else. And it's just like, that's what I do. I just step away for a bit. I'm very fortunate. I have many hobbies that I can just like jump into and like kind of take a break from the others. And I know that's not the case with other people, but I highly recommend it, just like Guuud did. And I have a lot of personal theories about like why he is the way that he is. I definitely, and then he kind of said this himself, but I was just like, I definitely feel like that's his internal way of dealing with like the trauma of losing his mom. And it's just like, you get into like really bad habits like that, and people who are suffering from a form of depression, like, will just surround themselves in garbage because they just like, they're not emotionally there enough to like want to clean up. And I feel like that is a trauma response. And it's just like, definitely, I feel like this break, like what he did deserve a ban, and he stepped out of line, and he even like is accountable for it. And he was like, I think I needed that reset to kind of step away and, like you mentioned, like do these things. And I think, like you mentioned, a lot of people could take from that. And it's just like, I think a lot of people are a little bit too bitter. Like me personally, like I am definitely very hard-headed sometimes, but in those moments, I'm just like, all right, step away, or I don't know, like go all in. But like, I definitely know every now and then I definitely need to reset and I need to step away. And I don't know, I'm happy for him. He seems to be in a lot more lighter, I would say. But yeah, I think there's a lot of us out there who could definitely benefit from, hey, maybe instead of having no water a day, have a glass or 2 glasses. It's like, from going from no physical activity, go for a walk to your mailbox and back, or like walk, if you're living in like an apartment building, like walk to the bottom and then back up instead of taking the elevator. Who knows?
That's it. Yeah.
I know. I think it's positive, but yeah, all the best to him.
Yeah, now that he's returned, I'm like, well, everyone assumed he was max level before 2 weeks ago, right? But now I'm just like, he's prestige 1 now.
Yeah.
He's reset.
I can't remember, like, on his stream yesterday, I think he had like 50K viewers. Like, it was definitely a lot. Like, a lot of people, it was just like a crazy week. It was like Donald Trump was on Joe Rogan, and then Asmongold's back, and then Concord gets shut down. It's just like, and then crazy week.
All right, so moving into the next segment, Dragon Age Veilguard review drama. Now, this sort of issue that has been surrounding this release of this game and its reviews is that there was people who were sent out to the preview event that didn't end up getting review codes, even if their preview videos were given good praise and positive reception. And someone called Fextra Life, which I'm sure most people have heard of, they are a wiki page, and they do reviews and they do guides and things like that. They stream on Twitch and they're on YouTube, massive following. They basically get a review code for practically every major release. They got the most views on their preview video, and yet they did not receive a code. And it's not just that they got told you're not getting a code, they just didn't get told anything. So when the reviews for this game, the Veilguard, came out, they did a video saying what had happened and how basically they didn't get told. 2 other people they know of didn't get codes either, even though they were at the preview event, and there's no real consistency to it. So what this sort of got me thinking about was just like, Well, this is something that we know has been an issue for a long time, and that is access journalism. In that, we saw it with Star Wars Outlaws. We had Ubisoft flying people out to Disneyland or wherever it was. I'm pretty certain it's Disneyland. And that they were given all this stuff, and then they were given positive previews. Now, you're not like legally obligated to give positive reviews, but you know that these people who are getting given like flight somewhere and all this stuff, they're going to be biased to a certain extent. Everyone's going to have varied levels of bias, obviously. But the thing is, Veilguard is just this drama for Veilguard is just an egregious example of what has been going on for a long time, and part of why Jimmy wanted to make the BGR review system and unbiased reviews. Like, we're trying to remove as much of the subjective points of reviewing as possible to make it as objective as possible. But yeah, like, what are your sort of thoughts about the whole drama, Jimmy? Obviously, I got more commentary, but I'll let you step in because I know you're very passionate about this.
Yeah, for this,
as me,
this, like, it's just like, again, it just shows you corporations will corporation. Like, so their goal is to ship as many units as they possibly can. So when you have a marketing team and a sales team, that's probably the ones that are in touch with all of these people's managers and agents and stuff who dish out all of the preview codes and stuff. You're gonna vet all of your people that are going to write a review, and you're going to pick the ones that are likely going to write the most favorable reviews for you. Is it because you want the most authentic, objective review out there for your game? Fuck no. You want to move units. So you want the people that are going to fucking grease up your game and get more people to buy it. So I'm not shocked by this whatsoever. I think it sucks that it wasn't even like affects your life and like the other person that wrote like a somewhat negative review, they didn't like come out and be like, this is DEI dog shit, blah blah blah. No, they said was, yeah, the game seemed fine. Some of the dialogue delivery was a little bit questionable, but we only played so much of the story, so we're gonna wait for more. That's like paraphrase, but that's literally all they said. So that was enough for them to get essentially blacklisted from getting a review code. And hey, time will tell. I think before we started recording, Veilguard just released, and I think it's at I think around 70k active players on Steam DB. We can even just check right now. Why the hell not?
Yeah, true. But yeah, while Jimmy's checking that, it's sort of like, there's always been sort of curated access journalism for reviews for years, and like, people want to pretend like, oh, the Metacritic doesn't matter. Oh, the Metacritic matters. Metacritic being low for a game like Days Gone was the reason it didn't get a sequel, and why they didn't get bonuses, because they didn't hit a certain threshold. So anyone who thinks that the Metacritic doesn't matter is crazy.
It peaked at 70,000, and there's about 66,000 playing it right now.
Yep. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes over the weekend. Yeah, like I'm playing it and reviewing it. I'm not going to mention any commentary now. I don't want it to age like milk, and I've only played 2 hours, I think. I will comment the dialogue basically wanting to force me to make a comment on one of my teammates being injured because of a decision I made. It's like, well, the world was about to end. Someone was bound to get injured, but anyway, that's all. Just little things like that are annoying. But yeah, I don't really want to comment on.
Yeah, I feel like
it's very early. It's very early. So
what people are upset with is, again, what we talk about, the same with the Concord stuff. It's like, that the median. So for people who don't know, like whenever you have statistics of like a group of individuals, and like, let's say you're rating like your coworkers, and you'll have like your top 10%, you'll have your bottom 10%, and then there's all the people in the middle, and they're called the median. And so when it comes to gaming, for the people that would be into an RPG in this aesthetic, like there's definitely a median of gamers that are going to be into this. And sure, there's the 10% of people that are going to love certain aspects that they're choosing to go with in Veilguard, and then there's going to be the bottom 10% who are going to absolutely hate what they're going for in this game. And I feel like what's happening with a lot of these developers, a lot of these studios, is they're getting a little bit too in their own head, and they're not realizing, even though that you're making something for your top, for like your chosen 10% of audience, the choices that you're making for them are probably gonna likely upset or not resonate with the median consumer base. And that's what I think a lot of the controversy is for this. And then also with the whole not giving out review codes is kind of a red flag, but the game seems to be doing okay. I think like time will tell. We'll see if it is enough for BioWare to consider it like a success. But for me personally, like thankfully you're playing it. I looked at this, I'm looking at the gameplay right now, and it doesn't seem like something that I would be super into. But if the people that are actually Dragon Age fans are liking it and enjoying it, that's what matters most, because I know a few people that are like actual hardcore Dragon Age fans. War, you're one of them, and they've been looking forward to this for a super long time, and they're stoked. And it's just like, hey, if that game is awesome for you, I'm stoked. But if you're kind of just coping and you're saying it's good when it's not, I don't think that's cool either.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, like I said, a couple hours in, I don't want to make comments yet because it could change. But yeah, it's something I've been waiting a long time for, because this game was originally going to be basically an MMO, and then it changed sort of it ended up being back to single player like the other games have been. So but yeah, we'll time will tell how it ends up being for us and for BGR review system, and I'll have a review out as soon as I'm done, and I'm excited.
That's another thing, like, again, like you brought up with the review system, like we made it because we were tired of games getting a score based on an aspect that isn't gaming. So like a lot of people will be like, oh, this story talked about this topic that is like currently in the zeitgeist of modern politics, and it's just like 10 out of 10, and it's just like, yeah, but the gameplay was dog shit. It's just like, so why are we giving it a 10 out of 10? Or it's just like, oh, this game has incredible graphics that are like insanely like lifelike, and it's like, the game's only 5 hours long, and it's just like, and the gameplay is just like up on the joystick. So I wonder what game I'm talking about, but it's just like
definitely not Hellblade.
Stupid thing. So that's why we made it. And a lot of people, they watch our reviews and they're just like, it's just a bunch of numbers. It's like, and none of them are the same. It's like, yeah, it's because we weighted it so gameplay means the most. It's worth 40 points out of the 100, and then story's worth 20, and then graphics are worth 15, and then performance is 10. Do I have that right? I think so.
Performance is 10. Yeah.
And then we have a few bonus points that are only worth 1 point because they're nice to haves and they won't make or break a game. And that's how we feel like it should be. And we hope a lot of people dig the way that we review games. We've had a lot of people use our system when they're playing games themselves. If you haven't already, you should check out that feature. We'll put it in the link in the description. But that's our goal, is just to be able to rate these games and then have it be as close to objective as possible, but also so we can't just give it a bunch of ones, because it'll be like, well, like the game clearly looks good, or like it clearly has this, and this is like, so you got to give it points where points are due, but you can take away points where you feel like it's really negating in that factor. So that's why. And then a lot of people are like, you'll go to some 3-letter websites and then you'll see their reviews and it's like 7 and you're just like, why so many 7s? And it's just like, based on what? And then I think it was Pirate Software brought up a really good point. A lot of people put these like big review sites up on a pedestal, and what you don't realize is it's not like the website or like the company is reviewing the game. It's just some asshole who works there who gets got to play the game, and they're just like any one of us. So it's just like like all 3 of us at Base Game Reviews, We have a wealth of knowledge, and like we have very diverse sets of games that we play, and we're always looking to grow, and we're hoping like one day we'll like, I hope we can finally get somebody who plays fighting games, and then we can like get them on board.
Because like two things just on the review scores. If somewhere like IGN is assigning a 7 to various different games that are just like not sevens, it's sort of the whole point of a numbers, like talking not about gaming, but in general, numbers are meant to be consistent values. Then the number doesn't matter. Like them assigning a number is pointless if the number doesn't mean anything. If it doesn't have a consistent value, then the number may as well just be any symbol known to man, just that has no, like, it's pointless. And then the other thing is, with this system that we have, the BGR system, I don't have to justify one number. I have to be able to justify to our fans, our audience, 20 numbers for every review. Yeah. I have to be able to justify the intro score because we have a reasoning behind 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah. So I have to be able to justify that, then the cutscenes, then the world building, and then the overall story. And that's just for story. I have to justify 4 scores.
And we're always evaluating it too. Like we're always just like, okay, like we've looked over these games and like we're seeing that this is a trend. It's like, okay, should we adjust this? So like it's always changing.
Yeah, and like we reevaluate. Well, I don't know if it was a re-evaluation, but re-clarified that the performance, we won't give a 5 for performance for a game unless it has on console more than 2 modes.
Yeah,
like it should have 3 modes. To have full 5 out of 5 for performance, you need to give the player a choice of 3 or more graphical modes, and I think, and we all came to the consensus, so that's fair. And we're always welcome to feedback. If you have a suggestion, let us know. We're open to that, and we want to make sure it's, you know, it's not constrained, it's fluid, and we can change over time and evolve it if need be. But yeah, like I said, that's 4 different scores I got to justify to our audience for just story. So it's not like we're just chucking random numbers around at all.
Yeah. What this all came from, I wanted to talk about this during the Concord section, but I forgot. But yeah, it all comes down to like this was a YouTube video that someone made is about toxic positivity, and I find there's just way too much of that. Like, and for me, I have definitely lost a lot of respect for a lot of people in our circle because they literally have zero integrity. And what I mean by that is they'll give a clearly bad game. They'll be like, yeah, I thought it was an 8 out of 10. It's like, you thought that game was an 8 out of 10. Like an 8 out of 10. That should be like a great game. And it's just like, you're giving that game an 8 out of 10. It's just like, what are we talking about here? And then, or they'll just give like an arbitrary score, or they'll like, all they'll say is like, yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It's just like, that game was terrible. Like I don't know, like it just upsets me so much. It's like, do you literally have zero integrity that you will just like frivolously throw out like, oh, that game was great because out of fear that like, oh, that it'll hurt that platform that game is on if I admit that it's bad. And it's just like, it won't. What it does is it hurts your integrity. It hurts the things that you say having any credibility whatsoever. And that's it. That's a huge thing in the gaming community that just like really upsets me, is that nobody wants to be critical. Everybody just wants to be like, they tried their best. It's just like, let's just like, it's just like, then great, go.
Kumbaya.
You don't have like, I don't know, like if you have no opinion, then don't speak up. It's just like, you can't, like, I hate these people that are just like, you have to be positive about everything. If you're positive about everything, that is how you have the biggest fucking flop in entertainment history. And you flush 400 alleged fucking $1 million down the fucking drain, and you do your part against inflation by deleting all of that money. And it's just like, that's what happens when you go, they tried their best. It's just like, it was pretty good. It was an 8 out of 10. No, you have to stand up. You have to stand up and you have to say, that doesn't look good, or that's not a good idea to do that, or I didn't like that aspect of this game, or like this game just didn't do it for me. It had issues. You can absolutely say those things, and I'm really fucking sick of the toxic positivity and just the people like, they'll go out of their way to not be negative, and then they'll go the whole other way where they'll just start playing these random trash games just so they could like cope and like say nice things about them. And you're just like, have you gone completely mental? Like, what are you doing? Why are you playing that? It's just like, I played Gollum to be like, I want to see what a really bad game looks like. And I'm like, this game was bad. I can see what they were going for, but like, wow, they ran out of money, or like, I don't know what the hell happened, because this game is a train wreck. But like, you see these people in our creative circles that are just like playing these terrible games and then coping for them, and you're like, why? What are you getting out of that? Why? Like, what? What are you doing? Like, are you trying to get like a future review code for a studio that's likely going to get shut down? Like, what are you like? What is your end goal here? And it's just like what you brought up with access journalism. I feel like a lot of people, especially who are like our level of channel, like we're all at the bottom and we're all fighting for this small piece of the pie. And people think that they can get out of that, or like get more followers, or like, I don't know, attain more success if they just kind of like rub up against the right people and then just like suck ass in certain places. And it's just like, no, dude, you're just going to completely ruin any integrity that you have right out the rip. And then you're never going to grow, because people are just going to be like, oh, another channel that just sucks everyone's ass about whatever topic. And I'm just really sick of the toxic positivity, and I think we need to be critical. You don't have to be a dick about it. And it's like, yeah, I can be a little bit harsh sometimes, but whenever I do give negative feedback, I will always give an opinion of like what they could have done better. And it's like, Concord, you could have been a lot better if you had a compelling reason for people to switch from your competitors, which was Overwatch or is Fortnite. You got to make your characters look amazing. You could have partnered right off the rip with some hit thing, like have the characters I don't know, like they have like a partner with like Dragon Ball Z, or like like partner with like whatever to like also self promote Sparking Zero. Like you could have done a ton of different shit, and you could have made that game more successful. And it's just like some of these other games, like Alan Wake 2, it's just like, be like the stuff that you copied from Resident Evil 2 remake, copy more of. And it's just like, you could have had more combat, and you could have still had your creepy little story, but a little bit more of the gameplay aspect would have made that game better. But what I'm trying to say here is, stop it with the toxic positivity. You're not helping anyone out. You're just making games worse.
Stop being scared of offending a corporation. Weird.
Corporations are always going to be offended. It's just like, you can't be afraid of that. And it's just like, I knew for a long ass time, I'm like, oh, if you want to make it on YouTube, you have to glaze everything, and then you'll attract all of the glazers. And it's just like, but I didn't want to do that, because you know what? I have integrity. And if I think something sucks, I can't put the face on that says it doesn't suck. I'm going to be like, no, this sucks. Fighting the same boss 9 times is garbage. And it's just like, this is not a good game. And I've made a lot of enemies from it, and I'll probably make a lot more. And I don't care. I really don't care.
Oh, well, Jimmy, do you have any further to add before we wrap this one up?
No, that's it for me. The only thing that I want to say is, again, check out our most recent reviews. We have a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipeline. I've got some big reviews that I'm getting ready to put out, because I finished Metaphor. I crushed that game in under 40 hours. I did some cheap shit farming, and it carried me, and I used the most cheap builds, and I don't even care, because I got through that game. And then I also played the Alan Wake DLC, crushed that in under 2 hours. So I basically speed ran it. But we have a ton of great content coming out. I'm playing Black Ops 6 right now. I'm almost finished, and it's going to be a kick-ass start to November. So I'm really excited.
Nice. Enjoy, man. But yeah, no, I finished that campaign too. I loved it. All right, so let's sign off now.
Just had to throw that in. Oh yeah, I finished it already.
Well, I was going to, just so everyone knows, I was originally going to review it, but I was just like, I want to jump on Veilguard. I want to get that review out for our fans, audience, straight off as quick as I can. So Jimmy took another one under his wing, and he's crushing it in the background. So yeah, that's been BGR episode 11. Make sure you check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I am Warawana. This has been my co-host Faunatron, and that's episode 11 wrapped. Catch you next time. Happy Halloween.
Cheers, everybody. Bye.
See you later.